Good morning. This is Justin Daniel, or Haji J, coming to you from the Mount of Olives with a panoramic view of the Old City. It's a beautiful spot for sunrises and sunsets as the sun rises in front of the city and sets behind it. I can't believe that I've actually found it peaceful and quiet this morning without it being thronged by tourists, because it's a very popular spot in front of the Seven Arches Hotel with all the tourists. This is definitely one of the stops where everyone comes to take panoramic photos of the Old City. In a future video blog, I'll try to give a little bit of a pinpoint tour of things that you can see from this spot. But this morning I just wanted to give you a couple of background facts and information about the Holy Land and how I arrived here thus far. I arrived yesterday morning, middle of the night or early morning, about 2:33 in the morning, as it seems most flights do from the west, into Tel Aviv, caught a charut or a shuttle here to Jerusalem, about an hour, and they drop off as far as the Israeli drivers are able to go. Since I'm staying in the West Bank, they come up to a certain point and they drop me off, in essence, very close to Damascus Gate of the Old City, and from there I just took a taxi up here to the top of the Mount of Olives. I'm staying at the convent of the Holy Ascension of Our Lord of Russian Convent. That's a part of the Russian mission here in the Holy Land, which was founded about a century ago by the Russian royals as well as pious patrons in Russia to provide pious pilgrims that come to the Holy Land with guest houses, rest houses as they call them, or places to stop and have picnics and rest from their pilgrimaging and from the heat of the day. And they still have most of these holdings and are able to support pilgrims as well. And as most experiences and relationships formed here in the Holy Land are lifelong, and so I'm very fortunate and thankful that they have welcomed me back as a part of the family. I was introduced to them by a couple of American monastics that were staying here, both at this convent of the Holy Ascension as well as down at Mary Magdalene, down in the Garden of Gethsemane. But you see me in a fleece, probably something that you might not have expected here in the desert in the spring. When I arrived, it was actually warm enough I was in short sleeves, but being in the high desert, it experiences the extremes, and literally every day goes from about short sleeve weather during the day to needing a light to mid-weight jacket in the evening, depending upon how many base layers you might be wearing. Also, part of what makes up the dynamic and gives the Holy Land, especially Jerusalem, so much energy are four main groups that I would say live and breathe here in the Holy City. The Israelis, of course, the Palestinians, of course. Within the Palestinians, I'd subdivide them into the Palestinian Muslims and the Christians. Muslims, of course, by far the majority of the Palestinians. The Christians are the vast minority of all people groups here in the Holy Land. It used to be about 10%. And that was maybe 20 years ago, before the Intifada started and before literally some outright persecutions started. But that's now less than 2%. They now make up less than 2% of the population, which is quite a striking change. Something that I hope to cover, especially in interviews, allowing the living stones to speak for themselves. And I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but we have some of the church bells going off. We might also be able to hear the call to prayer at some point here soon, but some of the sights and sounds that are always present here in the Holy Land. I was actually woke up at about 4 a.m. this morning with the call to prayer, not too far from where I'm staying. But anyways, the fourth group, and I think that they need to be considered as a people group here in the Holy Land, are all the tourists, because so many come, and so many come from all parts of the world that you're more than likely to actually be rubbing shoulders with or contending with the throngs of tourists than you are people who actually live here a lot of times when you're in the Old City. But it definitely adds to, if not heightens, the texture and dynamism of the energy here, hearing all the different languages, the multitude of cultures that are coming together, mingling, etc. And also, these are some of the things that I hope to bring back to you, some of the sights and sounds of Jerusalem. But in a future video blog, I'll also try to point out some of the different things that we can see here from the panoramic view, and also go into more detail about where I'm staying. But at this point, just want to welcome you, say thank you for joining, and also again ask you to please keep me in your prayers as tensions continue to rise here in the Middle East and North Africa. It's quite surreal to be here kind of in the middle of the region, and to be taking it in, especially peppered with commentary from the locals. But I'll also remember you in my prayers as I'm visiting the different holy sites, and look forward to this Lenten journey with you. Thank you, and God bless.